Who's ever been working in Godot's 2D and never thought to themselves, hmm, I wonder what 3D is like, and then press that plus button we all know too well and click 3D node, only to be totally overwhelmed by all the differences between 2D and 3D? Well, I'm here to help break that ice between you and ultimate 3D superiority. First of all, let's talk about 2D characters versus 3D characters. 2D characters are pretty simple. The way I've done it in previous projects is simply by calling get axis from the left and right input actions, then making that the x velocity. Super simple. However, 3D is a bit more complicated. Let's take a look at my current project. You have to get the vector of the move forward, back, left, and right input actions. Then we create a direction variable, just like 2D, but instead of it being easy breezy, it has a ton of new functions in the creation of this variable. Let's take a look. We have to multiply the input direction by the player's transform basis by a vector of the input directions x, 0, and y. The transform basis is just the object's absolute location, rotation, and shear in the world. Then, of course, we have to normalize that variable because if we don't, moving diagonally with equal force on two of the keys will move slower than moving straight in a line. We definitely don't want that. Pretty complicated, am I right? By the way, samples of all the code demonstrated in the video are in a link in the description. Anyway, back to the video. Next up, organization is key. Now, this definitely applies to both 2D and 3D, but there are some key differences between the two that make organization so much more helpful when working in 3D. For instance, when importing a 3D object into the file system, I use Blockbench, but I'm pretty sure this applies to Blender or other programs as well. It separates the GLB file and the PNG texture. Also, by the way, always use GLB files. It gets really messy really quick when dealing with differently named assets going different places, so you need to have a folder for models, scripts, scenes, and anything else that shows up here. This doesn't just apply to the file system. You should also organize the scene layout to have your root named properly and have its script being the one determining everything with its children as well as a global script named global. Not globals, or global script, or global variables. Those will definitely confuse you later on. With a node folder named meshes or lights or anything else that you have a bulk amount of in the scene storing it, so that you aren't stuck scrolling to get anything at the bottom of the tree. Also, make sure that things like the player are not only named player, but live at the top of the tree. It makes it much easier to go back and forth between scripts when you don't have to move your mouse as much. Third, you need to make a new scene for almost everything. This can definitely seem unintuitive at first, coming from engines like Unreal, where if you make a new scene, then it adds like 300 megabytes to the project size, but it's definitely worth it in Godot. Godot's scene file sizes are tiny. You could practically make 400 levels of pure, high res 3D models, and your game would literally run in the browser well. By the way, always test in the browser. It's easy to set up. Just make a new itch.io account, add a new game, title it Untitled, leave it restricted, add Web5 to your export list, export it by pressing export, not pck/zip, and name the file index.html. Then save it in a custom folder in your documents folder. Or you could make a scene for the player, which saves you from messing up exported variables in the different levels, as well as the script adding thing from before. Anyway, make sure to make a new scene for almost everything in your game. It will really make a big difference in your Godot projects. When I'm done modeling and ready to get back to coding, it's really frustrating to have to export a particular file then drag it into Godot. It takes too long and really annoys me. So, you should have an auto importer that automatically copies any saved PNG or GLB file. I use GLB, but this will definitely work with any file type for sprites and other assets into your project folder. That way, you can still have them at easy access in the pictures folder or the downloads folder. That's where I keep my models, even though they aren't actually being downloaded, or a custom folder for that matter, while they're still being automatically put into your Godot project. This also applies to other engines, but still. I have a C# script linked in the description, and when built, it will definitely work excellently for exporting the different files. This is a really useful tool, and I hope it will come in handy in all of your projects. Now, you're finally done importing all of your assets and such into the project, and you've placed them all in the exact spot that you want in the scene, and you go to test it. And then your character falls right through the floor. It's rather frustrating when you realize you've only done half of the work. You still have to place in collision. Collision is rather infuriating in Godot, and it can really suck to have to work through the collision editing. That's why you should use a collision script. Mine can be added to any model put into the scene, and it does the math to automatically add the correct collision to every mesh in the model until it's perfect. This is a game changer because it means that you could skip the process of adding collision altogether and just add the collision scripts to every model. But if you have way too many models and don't want to drag that script on for every single one, you can literally just make a script in Godot automatically detect if it's a model, then attach the script in the runtime. Blockbench exports, for example, even if their name is something completely normal in the file system, always come out to as Blockbench export 1 or whatever their number is in the actual scene, and we can just use that to our advantage. So that's why you must have a system like this. It will save you hours. So, thanks for watching, guys. This has been Twin Tech Studios on Godot 3D. I'll see you in the next one.